Cubs have signed Justin Turner. And what does that mean to the roster? What does that mean to the third base position? And can he still play third base? That's a question that a lot of you guys had, and I think it's a valid question. We're going to get into that. The Cubs named their opening day starter. We'll talk that right here on the Cubs baseball channel. Great to see you guys today. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's talk a little baseball. As I say every day, we're one step closer to opening day in Japan, and we know what the pitching matchup's going to be. How about that? What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball Channel. Thank you for being here today. Let's talk about the Cubs. And I want to start with this. The newest Cub, Justin Turner, longtime Dodger playoff hero. I mean, I can see him rounding the bases after a home run. And the Cubs, they signed him $6 million one-year contract. He's a guy that could come in, help the offense. You put him in the lineup, makes your lineup better. And I initially, when we did our live show yesterday, I just said, hey, I mean, the guy's got to play third base, right? I mean, that's why you go out and sign a third baseman. But some of you guys were like, no, I mean, he doesn't play third anymore. And I started looking into it, and I'm like, there's a real question on why he hasn't played third. And it starts with, since 2022, he's only played 13 games at third base. Now, some of this is also based on what your roster is. If you have another player there that is your starting third baseman, then, that's going to take away the chance for you to play third base. I mean, they've already got it covered. So the question is, why did Turner go from playing third base with the Dodgers to DHing, right? Max Muncy, right? So then he heads out on the market and he ends up with the Red Sox, and Rafael Devers plays third base. I mean, look, that's not a bad guy to play behind. And with the Red Sox, they looked at him as a DH, could play some first base as well. But then you go to Toronto and you're like, all right, well, who's the third baseman for the Blue Jays? And it's Ernie Clement. Okay, so is Ernie Clement, I mean, is that a guy that beats you out for third base? And then you end up in Seattle, and it was the combination of Josh Rojas and Luis Urias. So maybe he can't play third anymore. Maybe not on a consistent basis. And he's only played 13 games since 2022 at third. Now, here's the other end of this. Okay, DH. He's a right-handed batter. He's still a pretty good hitter at 40 years old. First base, you can platoon him with Michael Busch. He's played some first base. He's good there. But where the Cubs are in need isn't first base, and it isn't the DH spot. It's third base. That's where he's got to be able to play. And even though in the last 2 years he hasn't played a ton at third base, maybe it's like riding a horse. He's played 976 of his 1678 games over at the hot corner. So maybe he's able to go over there and get it done. I mean, that's what they need with this guy. That and the bat, right? 40 years old, 139 games last season. And between the Jays and the Mariners, he slashed 259, 354, and 383 with 11 home runs and 55 knocked in, right? His production's diminishing, but that's what happens when you get older. The players, though, are excited to have him. When you hear these guys talk about him, Nico Warner's like, hey, this is great. They like playing with guys that come in that have a track record of being postseason heroes. That's what Turner brings to the table with the Dodgers. And of course, he was a two-time All-Star and a three-time player that received MVP votes. But what everybody remembers for is that he's great in the postseason. He was the National League's championship series MVP in 2020. The Dodgers went on to win the World Series. That was in the COVID shortened season. And in playoff games, 86 of them, the guy's a 270 hitter. So some people, they just get up for the games in the postseason. And the Cubs, I'm sure, are hoping that they get to the postseason this year. But the question that I have is, can he play third base? Because you didn't get Alex Bregman, and Matt Shaw right now dealing with an oblique, and we don't know what Matt Shaw is going to bring to the table. I think he's going to eventually figure it out. How long is that going to take him? And that's I talked about it on the show yesterday. Go back and watch it. But the jump from AAA to the big leagues it used to be like this. It's like this now because they've eliminated all the stops in between. They make them so short now. You show up, you have a couple good weeks, and they promote you. And the problem with that is what baseball is about, playing the same teams over and getting a book out on you and figuring out how to get you out. And that's not what happens anymore. They just chuck you to AAA. The Cubs have all their prospects in AAA for the most part. And then they go to the big leagues, and we expect them to perform. And it's been, for Matt Shaw, I mean, he was in college a couple years ago, hitting ACC pitching at Maryland. But he's a smart player. He understands the game, and he's very sound defensively. And at the plate, he's got discipline. So those are all good attributes for the guy that the Cubs are relying on. But can Turner play third base? Because if they just signed him and he can't play third base, I don't get this move. So he's got to be able to play third. So for you guys that don't think he can play third base anymore, if he doesn't play third and they don't have him as a third base option, then I don't get this at all. I guess it's the same reason why you traded your first round pick that's a third baseman and your all-star third baseman for an outfielder when you have a bunch of outfielders. So we'll find out. It's one of those things. I think he can still play third, and I think it's going to be he's going to do that. Now, what's the roster move that goes with this? Most likely Gage Workman, and I don't know when you guys are watching. This might have already happened by now. Gage Workman, Rule 5 pick. He hasn't played above Double-A, and he's got to be on the 40-man roster. We haven't really even seen him yet. But it's almost the same thing as Rob Zastryzny, who the Cubs signed, basically put on the 40-man roster. And then all of a sudden, they had to release him because they got other pitchers. And now there's a roster spot. Is it going to be him or John Birdie? But I can't imagine them taking John Birdie off the roster when you gave up Luis Vazquez's spot for John Birdie. You felt like you needed that utility guy. So I don't see that happening. I think that the most likely guy to get, tossed out is Gage Workman. So we'll find out. All right, we're getting closer and closer to opening day. And I know everybody's excited about opening day. Who isn't? And this year we get opening day. It's like we get, kind of a little sample of baseball right in the middle of spring training. Because on Tuesday and Wednesday, March 18th and 19th, the Cubs are going to be in Japan, and they're going to play the Dodgers, 5:10 Central Time in Tokyo. And now I think we know the Cubs rotation for this. This is my guess on the second pitcher. I don't think it's really that bad of a guess, but opening day, Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani, No, it's not going to be him. I'm just kidding. It's actually going to be Yamamoto for the Dodgers because Ohtani's not going to pitch there, even though he's going back home. He's going to hit. And then Sasaki, the second day, that was the guy that Cubs tried to sign. So they're the two Japanese young star pitchers that the Dodgers have. And it'll be Shota Imanaga on the 18th, and I'm guessing Justin Steele on the 19th. So a lot of lefties against the Dodgers out in Tokyo on the 18th and the 19th. And then more spring training before the Cubs actually get opening, the first series on the road, taking on the Diamondbacks and right at the end of March. So pretty cool, though. I love the idea of this, right? Shota versus Yamamoto in Japan. So that's what we got right now. All right, you guys get in the comments section and tell me what you think. I'm sticking by this. I think that they don't sign Turner if he can't play third base. He's got to play third base. And I know he hasn't played a lot of third base, but if he can just give you some third base, I'm sure his skills haven't diminished that much that he can't go out there and help. And we'll be watching that in spring training. But the bat still plays. The experience is going to be great. You got to love the beard, putting them out there in a uniform. It's $6 million. So, you know, it's not 120 over 4 years, but you're also not getting the same player. But over the last 3 seasons, I mean, the guy's been consistent at the plate, and he just gives you that swag, you know, that experience, that success, that postseason know-how that the Cubs obviously want to get to. All right, thanks for hanging here on the Cubs Baseball Channel. We'll do it again tomorrow. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. And if something breaks, just like we did yesterday, you know, you'll see us. Go Cubs.